Thanks for watching. I just got a brand new RC and it's the Element RC Gatekeeper, which comes as a kit. Now I'm figuring it's not really interesting to look at all these plastic bags of parts. So what I will be doing is I will assemble the thing first. Afterwards we will look at the box, the stickers, and hopefully an assembled truck that will look amazingly cool. But for now, let's just roll the intro. Thank you for watching. Today we're taking a look at the Element RC Enduro Gatekeeper. This is the latest iteration of the Enduro series. I will walk you through what happened so far really briefly. Element RC, they came out at first with the Enduro Sendero, 1.9 size tires, solid front rear axle, really cool gearbox that's actually in all of their trucks. No different with this one, more about that one later. Then that quickly got followed by the Enduro Trail Walker, which was a 1.55 size tire blue truck. Really cool. I did one up with a T-top. I'll make sure to include a close-up of that one. Then they came out with the Trail Runner, which had independent front suspension. Pretty groundbreaking and also really cool to see something new come out. And now again they come out with something that is new, something that is different, something that I think is a big need for in this market, which is this fully caged Enduro Gatekeeper. This comes as a kit, which means that you need to fully assemble it. It also means that you need to supply your own electronics. So you need to have a receiver, a steering servo, you need to have a speed controller or an ESC, whatever you want to call it, and a motor. You also need wheels and tires because those as well are not included. And of course make sure that you have a bunch of tools to actually get the job done. Apart from that, it is pretty straightforward. There's a really clear manual included with this box that takes you through it step by step, and there's only two tiny things which I will address later on in the manual that you need to sort of like have a look at. I think most noteworthy is that trailed suspension in the back. I will make sure that I actually point at the right part of the box and hopefully it will focus in the close-up. But over here you see that there's a completely new rear shock location and also a completely new trailing arm setup. So that means that compared to a regular four-link suspension in the back, it is way wider, it is more stable, and it is also set up, well, I think really for some greater speeds than you would usually have on a trail truck. So despite it saying 1/10 scale rock crawler on the box, I think that kind of does it short, because with this truck you can be a bit of a roughhouser. You can be like a tiny bit of a psycho if you want to go like do some technical crawling at some point of your day. You could just do that. But if you want to completely go bonkers and have a blast and just sort of like I don't know, full throttle it over some hills, this will also completely do the trick. It isn't just trail suspension, it also has a sway bar installed. So there is plenty of engineering going on to actually keep it in check. The whole Gatekeeper suspension setup consists of multiple parts. One of them is the shocks. So you see over here it is a factory team shocks, which means that you have bronze colored hard anodized aluminum shock bodies. Really a breeze to assemble, and once you have filled them up and set them up correctly, they perform really nicely. This Gatekeeper also comes with new shock hoops, of course, because all those shocks come in a new location. But and as an addition to those shocks, I'm not sure if you can actually tell from the picture that is on the box over here, there's an insert that goes inside those shock hoops. That goes for the front and for the back. And that little insert, if I just show you on the truck itself, that little insert actually makes sure that you have 5 different shock mounting locations for the top of your shock absorber. giving you a lot more tunability than you would find on a regular Enduro. So that as well is pretty cool. Apart from that, if you are familiar with the Element RC trucks and with the Enduro series, you will see that all of the plastics are the upgraded hard dark gray plastic. So you will see that throughout this entire truck, in the trailing arms, also in the axles, in all of the chassis braces, but also in those shock hoops. All of that is the upgraded dark gray, tougher plastic, and trust me, this thing, once you have assembled it, it is tough as nails. That you would usually find in the option list on the Team Associated or Element RC website. It is all included in here. Another thing that is included are these high clearance lower links. So in the front you immediately get an upgraded link. That's one of the things that I mentioned that is not depicted in the manual. And another thing that isn't really clearly depicted in the manual, I think, is the spacer that you need to put behind those stainless steel pivot balls in the shocks while mounting them. But backtracking that and changing that out in case you have done it wrong, just because I don't think it's really clear enough in the instructions, is really a piece of cake. So really nothing to worry about. Let's see if there's something else on the box that I should really point out. Oh yeah, there's an aluminum, well, they call it a track bar mount. I would call it a panhard mount, an aluminum panhard mount in the front. Of course, really cool to see that upgraded right, well, out of the box. You need to assemble it out of the box because it comes as a ton of bags. Now, who is this truck for? I think that that's really important. This truck is for people like me, people like me who found the Yeti really cool, who found the Bomber really cool. So both the Axial Yeti, Axial Bomber, if you're completely unfamiliar with those. But the Yeti, of course, independent front suspension. You could set this up with independent front suspension, but the Yeti is a really wide truck. Unfortunately discontinued because I did find it a fun platform. But with the Bomber that then got released, they got the same axle width as on the Yeti, which I find troublesome if you go crawling with a couple of buddies, or if you want to have a truck that performs on a trail where other people just use their regular rock crawlers. You will find that a Bomber is a pain in the butt. Speaking of a pain in the butt, you can see people walking around really with great difficulty if they have a Bomber, because working on them is also a pain in the anus. Not with this Gatekeeper. This Gatekeeper, if you pull the pins out of the back, you can just, well, I already did it, so it's not like, ooh, but you can just pivot the whole body. You can just drop it forward and you have full access to the chassis. A chassis that at first glance doesn't offer anything that is completely out of the ordinary in terms of layout, but once you start looking at it a tiny bit closer, you will see that there's some pretty cool stuff going on. If we take it from the back to the front today, then you will see that in the back you have where usually you would fit your bumper. You actually have a pivot point for that sway bar. Then in front of that, way more located forward than you would usually find it. You have your rear top shock mount. So that entire shock tower is located over there. This also offers you the opportunity to actually put your battery tray in the back if you choose to run it there. I chose to run mine in the front just because I think in terms of weight bias that will be a bit nicer. Then these two side trays are also the mounting points for the front of your trailing arm. The trailing suspension, of course, mounts up to that solid rear axle that you see over here. Really nice splined drive shaft. Something that you will recognize from the other Enduro platforms. Along with this Stealth X Gearbox. I put a Castle Slate motor in there just for the sake of demonstration. This Stealth X Gearbox, if you are not familiar with it, this offers you the opportunity to actually set it up with, well, if we don't go nitpicking behind the comma, with either 6 or 11% overdrive. And overdrive means that those front wheels, they turn a tiny bit quicker, so they offer a few more percent in rotation than the rears, and that really helps on climbing stuff, but it also really helps in clearing your truck around objects, because you can turn it a bit sharper than you would be able to do if you would not have overdrive installed. So that Stealth X Gearbox is a really proven one, a really cool unit, I think. And it also gets included with this Gatekeeper. If you do run your battery in the front, do make sure that you notch out a tiny section off the bottom, which is really easy to do by just using an X-Acto knife. because I found it on full front shock compression, which in real life would not be that much of a problem. It does rub the front drive shaft just a tiny bit. Well, in the front, again, that really hard, super dark, super tough gray plastic axle. Behind the axle steering, again, those bronze anodized aluminum shocks. Some universals already come standard as well. A lot of steering throws, so 45 degrees steering angle, chassis mounted servo, and then that aluminum panhard mount that we discussed. In the front, you see that the front bumper location is kind of the pivot point for that really intricate and I think really cool roll cage that fully comes off. So this does not obstruct you in any way in working on your truck, which I think is great. Couple of cool features on this cage are that fuel cell, scale radiator, an interior panel, and all of this stuff, of course. So all these body panels, but also that interior panel, you need to cut it out, you need to drill a hole in it, and you need to paint it up. But all of that for me is always part of the fun. Now, part of the fun as well is customizing trucks. This platform, this Gatekeeper, really offers a ton of opportunity to actually completely go to town and put some different bodies on there. The wheels and tires, they do not come supplied with. So these are actually Proline wheels and tires. I will make sure that there's a link to that in the video description, and also a reference to the code HemiStorm10 that you can use on the Proline Racing website to get a 10% discount. But on the Proline Racing website you can also find these type of bodies. This is a Chevy Colorado, which I actually custom painted for this truck. You will see that in the next video, because I think that's really one of the key features of this Element RC Gatekeeper is the amount of customization possibilities that it offers. This cage being so much narrower than, for example, a bomber cage means that you can throw a lot of different bodies on here, and that's exactly what I will be doing in the future, because this is not the last body that I'm going to paint for it. Another thing that I really thought about is aftermarket. So not just in bodies, wheels and tires, but also in, for example, light bar locations. You will see that there's a predetermined light bar location on the roof. There's also a predetermined 2-inch light bar location in the front, and in the back, if you choose to do so, you can actually remove this last bar that goes across. You could take that out completely and you could replace this for one of Proline's 4-inch light bars. So go check that out, because I think it is awesome that companies sort of like work together, mesh together that well, and kind of keep an eye out for each other in offering some opportunities, like for example Element did over here for Proline. If you want to have more info about this Element Enduro Gatekeeper kit, go check out the links in the video description box, because I will make sure that there's links to Element and the website and their Facebook and all of the fun stuff that they do, because on the inside as well, it's always a party at Element RC in offering you some parts for your scale garage. So go check that out in the video description box. Also links to, for example, these Proline wheels and tires. I will make sure that there's a link to the painting video as well, that I will drop a tiny bit after this specific video. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do. If you are subscribed, hit the bell so you get notifications the minute I drop a new video. If you have any questions or comments, if I forgot to mention something about the Element RC Gatekeeper or anything that is included with it or not included with it, let me know in the comment section and we'll try to get back to you. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, because that always greatly helps. I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate all of the support. And I thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video today. And I will see you in the next one. I'm still really bad at muting my shit. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Back on.